And before we go any further, we're going to make sure that our weapon is clear and safe. So, looking in, nothing in the chamber, nothing in the magazine tube, and our safety is in the on position. This is a Mossberg 500A. It was the first shotgun I ever purchased back in 2007, and to date, it's the only shotgun I still own. It features a 20-inch barrel with a 7-shot magazine tube. Over the years, I've spent money on different accessories, different forends, different stocks, and at the end of the day, the current configuration that it's in is what I found to work for me. This may not work for you, but it's stuff that I will recommend. Now, a lot of you people say, well, what about the Remington 870? I like the Remington 870. It's a great platform. But for me, the Mossberg, it has my preference in regards to the location of the safety and the loading port. The fact that you don't have a spring-loaded elevator that's always in the down position. This open design here on the loading port allows me to introduce more ammunition into the magazine tube, which to me is a perk. So, starting on the back end, you have a Magpul SGA stock, which is a great improvement over the factory synthetic stock. Like the M16 platform, the A2 stock is ginormous. A lot of people like to put shorter or collapsible stocks on their systems. The same kind of applies with this Magpul SGA. Out of the box, it has a short length of pull, and it does come with shims or adapters, whatever you want to call them, that increase the length of pull. I find that this, without any extra adapters, is perfect for me. The recoil pad is generous and allows for recoil management. The angle of the grip here looks a little funny, but once you shoulder it, it all makes sense because the weapon points naturally. And I think if I had to recommend one item to upgrade a shotgun, this would be it. Second being ammunition choice, of course. But if you're worried about the length of pull because you have little T-Rex arms, or maybe you're using body armor, or you want something that's a little more effective than the factory stock, I recommend this. The safety lever up here, I replaced the factory plastic one with a steel one. I've never had mine break, and by break I mean the factory one. I've heard of other people have theirs break in half. I've never had that issue, but the biggest factor that I like on this safety is this hump, because not only do you have that audible click, but you have a tactile reference point when you're operating your safety, and I like that. Moving forward, you have the Magpul Mo forend that has M-lock slots, and I like it because it allows you to attach whatever accessory that's M-lock compatible that you desire to it. Gives you that flexibility. It's not dedicated for a particular light or a grip or whatever. It out of the box, it runs very well on its own, but you can enhance it. What did I do to it? Well, there's limited space. This is the TACCOM 3G Stage Saver, and I ended up drilling it directly into the handguard and mounting it because I'd ran out of space, and I wanted the capability to have a slug readily available right near the ejection port should I need to place a slug directly into the weapon system. Speaking of slugs, I'm a big fan of the Fiocchi Exacta Aero Slug. It's a low recoil slug that's moving at about 1150 feet per second, and out to 25 yards, I found that it hits right where the bead is. And to me, it being accurate, as well as being able to have a managed amount of recoil, is a plus. The M-lock slots that I didn't utilize, I used a insert from HexMag. It's rubber. It gives you some tactile texture that I really like. Next is the Streamlight ProTac. And on this side, because I'm left-handed, obviously I'm going to have the tape switch on this side. And I have it so the momentary is the first button that I'll hit. If I need to go constant, I just shift my hand up, tap the button, tap it again to turn it off. It's routed down and around to the light itself, which is mounted on a offset M-lock mount, also made by my Mac pole. Continuing forward, on the off chance that you want to run a sling, running a sling on a shotgun can be difficult, if not unwieldy. And I'm never going to recommend one of those silly shotgun slings that has 25 shell loops on, because that's a whole lot of weight swinging around that you don't really need. But if you do need to slap a sling on your shotgun, the Magpul SGA sling mount is a great addition, because it comes out of the box ready as a QD socket, or it does have an accessory if you want to use like a mash hook or a D-ring type sling. You can hook it up directly to it. I use QD slings, so I just leave it with the QD sockets. Moving forward is this front sight. Now, the existing bead on a shotgun is effective, but it could always be improved upon. The XS Big Dot front sight offers rapid target acquisition with that white bead, but as we all know, XS also has tritium in it, so it gives me a good muzzle reference indicator in low or no light situations. It does come with its own bead that it uses as a base, and it requires use of JB Weld. And when I first got it, I was a little hesitant, but I figured, you know, they wouldn't market this if it wasn't successful. And I am fond of XS for their sights. So I bought the highest strength JB Weld that I could find, prepped it as instructed, installed the replacement bead, you know, did a little bit of fine sanding on the area of the barrel that this is going to get mounted on, applied the JB Weld to the spots that it recommended, placed it in, cleaned off the excess with a toothpick, and then I zip tied this to the barrel and magazine tube. And there's a little more excess, so I cleaned it up, and you can still see a little bit here, but to me, that amount is not going to make or break this firearm for me. And I let it cure for 24 hours, and I've ran slugs, buckshot, birdshot. It hasn't, you know, sprung loose and went flying down range, which is my biggest fear. So it's a solid and cost-effective solution. The last bit that I'm going to go into is carrying additional ammunition. So you noticed earlier, I don't have a side saddle. I used to have a side saddle. I wasn't impressed with it, and there's a whole OCD factor. Like, I have a 7-shot tube. The side saddle only holds 6. I'm never gonna have a fully topped off gun, because if you're responding to a threat, usually you have only the ammunition that you got in the gun or on the gun, or that's readily accessible to you. And that's when some individuals, they're good friends of mine, they turned me on to the shotgun card system made by S-Tac. And I like it. It's made of scuba webbing, and they come in a variety of capacities from 4 to 8 rounds. I elected for 7 rounds because, you know, having 7 rounds on the side allows me to refill the magazine tube to 100% capacity. Features a 550 cord loop that you can literally pull and rip off your weapon and replace it with more cards. And it's very cool because you're not spending time placing removing rounds from your side saddle and reloading it with, say, less lethal munitions, slugs, number 4 buck, double aught buck, what have you. You can have a plethora of these cards on your kit, on your belt, in your pocket, and gun runs dry, you use your card, take ammunition from it into the weapon, rip off the empty panel, slap on a fresh one, you're good to go. Speaking of ammunition, I'm a big fan of Federal Flight Control buckshot, and it works. The wad that they utilize, it allows me to keep an entire tube's worth of buckshot on a Transstar 2 silhouette target at 25 yards and not have a single pellet go outside the torso. The slugs, as I mentioned, are the Fiocchi Exactas. Those are the low recoil. They move about 1150 feet per second. These are reduced recoil flight control, which is going about 1300 feet per second. Both of these types of ammunition I wholeheartedly recommend for any 12 gauge platform. But of course, I would always recommend buying a box and see how it performs out of your particular weapon. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will answer them as I get them. Thank you.